Hello everyone, welcome back to my video. So this video is the continuation of object-oriented programming to-do list video. If you haven't watched that video, please make sure to go to my channel and watch that video. So in the previous video, I showed you how you can add a to-do list, how you can delete them, and how to store them in the local storage. Let me show you what we have discussed in the previous video. So if I add a text, I can add that. I can add multiple text here and I can delete them like this, and if I refresh the page you can see that my texts are still in the browser. But in this video I will level up your skill in object-oriented programming. In this video I will show you how you can edit the text and also how you can delete all of your to-dos. If I click this button you can see that this pen will be changed to save, and I can have an input over here. And if I write another text like hello world and save that, you can see that my text is already changed. If I refresh the page, it is already stored in the local storage. And if I add another text over here, like if I edit this one too, now my text is updated. I can delete all of them by just pressing this button. And another thing which I will show you in this video is the visibility of the all remove button. Let me show you. So I just add a text, like you can see if we have items inside our to-do array, our button will be showed, and if we don't have anything then this button will be disappeared like this. So I hope this video will be helpful for you. Please make sure to like this video and give a subscribe to my channel. Let's get started. Alright guys, now the first thing which you need to do is just go to my GitHub. I will link this page link in the description and clone this old file from my GitHub. Okay, just click over here and copy this link. Now open your terminal or CMD, choose your directory and just write git clone and paste this URL. Just wait a little bit. Now you have the file. Okay, once you have the file, just open your directory and copy that file into your VS Code. Okay, and now I just open my HTML and make it live. You can see I have my previous project in the browser. If I add something like this, we don't have that edit button or that remove all. Okay, now let's add them. So I go to my JavaScript file, and inside here I need to add another button. Okay, but I need to add both of these buttons inside a div. So I just copy this one and add a div. I just remove this, and for the edit icon just go to Google and search for pen emoji. Once you have this, just copy this one, try to select it like this and Ctrl C. Once you have this, just bring it in your VS Code, delete this one and paste Ctrl V inside your VS Code. Okay, now I need to give it a class. Now you can see that we have a pen emoji over here. But now let's find this inside our add event listener. Okay, so I just changed this class name too. So now let's find this and set an add event listener to this one. So I come down here and write another method. I write static and edit button. Okay, and I just copy this one and write it down here to be displayed. Alright, Now we need to set an event listener to the parent of our icons like we did in the remove to do. Okay, so I don't waste time, I just copy this one, bring it over here, and I just delete this all, and instead of this remove I add edit. So now to make sure that we have access to our edit button, I just console log this edit text. Okay, now if I inspect this, let me close this one. If I click this, you can see that we have text edit. Okay, now let's implement our logic. So the first thing which we need to do is we have to find this text and make it editable. Okay, now to find this text, we have to get the parent element of this pen emoji. Okay, so what we need to do, I just write here let, and because this element is span, I just write span over here, and now I just write e dot target dot parent element dot parent element dot first element child. And this needs to be uppercase. Okay, now if I console log this and click this one, you can see that we found this p tag, and this p tag holds this hello. Okay, I think there is some error in my code, because if I click this pen and refresh, my text is gone. Okay, so let me find out what is the problem. Okay guys, I find out that because we are using this list at event listener 2 times, right, and this is an actually in global environment of this list, and if I click any of that buttons, that would this delete logic would be applied to them. So I just move them under this one. Okay, under this move event listener. So now if I click this one and refresh, you can see that my text is not disappearing. Okay, now by the way, this one is also p tag. My apologize. So this is p tag because our text is in p tag. Okay, the next thing which we need to do is we need to grab the id of our btn, which is edit. So I just write const btn id, which is equal to e dot target dot dataset dot id. Okay, now we need to set a condition, because once we click this, we want to change this to be saved, and also we want this text to be editable, right? So now I set a condition. First of all, I need to write a variable over here, icon change, which is equal to false by default. Okay, and now I set a condition. I say if icon change is true by default, what we need to do is I just set an attribute to my p tag. The attribute is going to be p dot set attribute, and this set attribute will have two values. The first value is going to be content editable, and the second value is going to be true. Okay, and also we need this editable content to be focused. So I just write p dot. Alright, now let's change this text to be saved. Okay, so I just write e dot target dot text content equal to be saved, and also we want this text to be blue color. So I just write p dot style dot color to be blue. Okay, so this condition is while our variable is true. So what if this is not true and it's false? So otherwise we say that we wanna bring back this to be pen, the inner text or the text to content. I just copy this one and paste over here, and also we wanna make the color to be black again and remove this set attribute. So I just copy this one, and instead of this set I just write remove and just remove this true. Okay, now let's find out if we can change our color or our text. So now to make it toggle, all you need to do is just write icon change is equal to not icon change, just to toggle. Now let me make it true by default. Now if you click this one, you can see that you have a text shape and an input over here which is editable. Okay, and you can actually get rid of this border. Just go to your CSS, just add a class for this p tag. I'm gonna name it to do text. Come here and down here just paste this. Okay, and write outline to be none. Now if you click this one, you can see that we don't have that border anymore. Okay, now let's implement this this update. Okay, so now to update this text, we need to update our text from the local storage directly. Okay, so at first we need to find each single of this text by find index. Let me show you what I mean. So I just go down here. Down here I just write a new variable and I'm gonna call this new array, which is equal to, and just we need to find the index of each element inside to do array. So I just copy this one, bring it over here, dot find index for each and every item. I just check if the item ID is equal to the ID of my btn. So I just write item.id is equal to item of my btn, which is this one, btn ID. And by the way, we add this plus because the ID of my btn is string and the ID of the array is number. So I add this plus to change this string to number. So we can set an equality between both of them. Okay, so the next thing which we need to do is we need to change the to-do text of this local storage to be the new span text content. Okay, so to-do array with the index of new array, which is equal to p dot text content. So if I unspec over here and go to my storage, you can see inside the local storage I have this object, right? So the name of this content is to do. So I just grab this to do in here. So dot to do. Okay, now we have changed the text, but this text won't be changed in the local storage. All we need to do is just update the local storage. So I just write storage dot add to storage and this to do array. Okay, now look at this one. Now we have this random text over here. Okay, if I click this one and get rid of this text, write hello world. And if I save this, you can see that this hello world is saved over here. And if I refresh, my text exists in the browser. Okay. Alright guys, now if I add another text like hi there, and I can edit this. Let's say hello there, how are you? And if I save this and if I refresh, you can see that I have this text. Okay, now let's implement our remove all button. So I just go back to my HTML, and down here I just add another div and call it remove all. Inside this I'm gonna have a button and the text is going to be remove all, and the class name is going to be remove all btn. Okay, now we have this text. So we need to bring this in the middle. I go to my CSS file and just grab this class name. Down here I need to add a text align center like this, and I need to add a padding top to be 1 rem. Okay, and now I just grab this class name here and add a padding of let's say 0.5 rem for the top and bottom and 1 rem for the left and right. And I just copy this color from here with the text color. I want the border to be none and a cursor pointer. Okay, now you can see I have this button, and now I need to add a little border radius. I want this to be 5 pixels. Okay, now let's implement this button. So I just go back to my JavaScript file, and down here I add another static method. So down this one I just write static remove all. Okay, once we have this static method, we need to grab our remove all button from the HTML. So I just copy this text again, go up here and write cons, which is equal to document dot curly selector, paste it over here, and I just rename this like this. Okay, so I just set an event listener to this one. I just go back to my method, paste this over here and set an event listener. And now we need to check if our button is working or not. So I just write console log test. Okay, let me inspect this one. If I click this, okay, it's not working because we need to actually update our display UI. Okay, update this one, and also we didn't call this down here, so I just copy this one and call it under my window.addEvent listener. And now I need to declare the UI because that's important. So if I click now, you can see that we have this test. Okay, now let's implement the logic. So now we need to first clear the array itself. I just write over here to do array dot length to be equal to 0. So I want this the length of this array to be 0, and because we have saved elements inside the local storage, so I just clear the local storage. I just write local storage dot clear. Okay, now if I refresh and click this one, you can see that all elements will be gone. If you check this storage over here, we don't have any elements. Okay, just to check one more time, I just add multiple text over here. Let me edit this one. Okay, edit this one. If I refresh, you can see all the text are exist over here. I can delete them one by one. Okay, this is because we added another parent to our icons. Okay, so we need to go back one parent more. So what I mean by this, let me show you. If I go back to my remove button, if I can find this, you can see we just went back only one parent element, but because we added this div over here, it means we added another parent element. Okay, so I just write here another parent element, so it grabs all of this one. Okay, so if I add again, now if I click this one, you can see that we have deleted all the element. Okay, so now let's check the remove all. If I click this one, we have cleared all of our array and the local storage. Okay, now let's work on the remove all button disappearing. Okay, so I just go back to my JavaScript and write another method over here and call that remove btn. So under here, I just set a condition. I say if the length of this to-do array is less than or equal to 0, I want this to be disappeared. So I just write if to-do array dot length is smaller or equal to 0, I want this remove all button dot style dot display to be none. Okay, so I mean that if the length of this array is 0 or smaller than 0, I want this button to be removed, disappeared. Okay, otherwise if there is some elements inside the array, I just want this to be back. So I just copy this one and instead I write flex. Okay, now it's not working because we have to write it down here. Okay, now we need to check. You can see that the button is disappeared. So if I add another thing over here, let's say hey. Okay, the button is not showing, but if I refresh, you can see I have the button. That is because I need to call it down the form as well. So if I copy this here and okay, where is the form? Okay, and call it over here too. So once we click this one, we want this to be updated. Okay, so let me remove this. Okay, you can see that even though there is nothing inside my array, but the button is still displaying. But if I refresh the page, you can see that the button is removed. Now to solve this problem, I just call this remove all button under itself. Now if I write a text over here, you can see that the button is displaying itself. And if I click now, you can see that my button is disappeared. But here we got another problem. You can see if I add a text over here, let's say another text, if I remove them one by one, we still have this remove all button unless we refresh again. So what we need to do, we just call this back under remove. Now if I add a text over here and remove them one by one, you can see that this btn will be disappeared. Alright guys, I hope this video will be helpful for you, and if you like this video and this video was helpful for you, please make sure to give a subscribe to my channel, and see you in the next video.